So the session that we are about to begin is Pilani Pioneers. It is a session about the interesting new book, The Pilani Pioneers, which tells us the inspiring story of 25 accomplished BITS Pilani graduates. We have with us today Sandhya Prakash, who is an entrepreneur, environmentalist, singer, and spiritual artist. She's also founder, director of Beacon, an energy management and energy renewable company. Also, we have TP Pratap, who's an experienced corporate and startup entrepreneur, who's the co-founder of Quicksilver Solutions. They will be in conversation with Durjai Sethi, who's a co-author of the book. Over to you, Durjai.
Thank you, Sandhya ma'am and TP sir, for joining us. It's great to be at BLF. I was here in 2019. I was there in the audience having a great time, jumping from one session to the other, listening to great talks. And never did I imagine that I'd be on the other side of the table. And I really have one person to thank for it, my co-author, Gaurav Mandlecha. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here in person. But he is the reason why this book has happened and so many other great things have happened. He conceptualized the idea, and I would like to read something from the book and share with you how this book actually came about. It was a cold winter morning in January 2018 when I knocked on the door of Rana Pratap 110, Gaurav's fourth year hostel room. He was half asleep, I could see, but I could not bring myself to care. I asked him to accompany me for a walk, prepared to insist on it in case he wasn't enthusiastic. I forgot it was Gaurav. He was always enthusiastic. We had walked for a few minutes and I could sense Gaurav searching my face for an agenda. I had none. I just wanted some company, and for some reason I was feeling particularly purposeless that day. I don't remember why I felt that way, but I certainly forgot about it when Gaurav started sharing the details of his rendezvous with over the past year with some of his of the business titans he admired the most. By rendezvous, he meant his several unsuccessful attempts to meet these titans. As he rattled off names alien to me and explained why they were special, I interrupted him to ask how he had selected this league of extraordinary tycoons. They're all from BITS, he replied as his lips curled into a smile. Sensing my growing intrigue, he pitched the idea for BITS Leadership Summit, a conference through which he and a few of my seniors wanted to inspire peers from our college and beyond by inviting these passionate business people to talk about where they had started from, where they were now, and everything in between. BLS was a passion project, a venture that I, along with a few fellow BITSians, would contribute to over the semester. It never saw the light of day, and our practice school's 6-month-long internships helped us move on from the ashes of BLS. More than a year since we buried BLS, graduated from BITS and were catapulted into the corporate world. Sometime in the August of 2019, I received a call from a very excited Gaurav. He congratulated me on an article that I'd written about my college life. On BITSians Day, this is in 2019, which is celebrated actually annually on the first Friday of August. It was shared on BITSians for each other, a Facebook group over 35,000 alumni, and met with an overwhelming response. Alumni across batches, even those who had graduated in the 1960s, reached out to me to share their experiences. So I assumed a similar nostalgia had urged Gaurav to ring me up. I was correct, but not quite. He went on to tell me that over the last 12 months, he had met some of his idols, 22 of them to be exact, just 3 to go, and we'd be ready. Ready for what, Gaurav? I asked, I was a bit puzzled. A book that you are now co-authoring with me, he said, without missing a beat. Thus began the journey of the Pilani Pioneers, a book that would take us to Pune, Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, and even San Francisco to meet 25 exemplary individuals as we documented their lives and careers. This book has endowed upon us the gift and the responsibility of spreading the message of these pioneers. And for that, we will forever consider ourselves fortunate. And thank you again, both of you, for being here. I would like to ask both of you some questions. So you both are batchmates, 1987 to 1991, Pilani, and you graduated on the cusp of liberalization. How was the job market or the entire scene in 1991, the economic liberalization of India?
So there were two options, one to stay back and work in India at that point in time. But I think almost 75% of our batch was writing SATs and wanting to go abroad, GREs, GMATs. So the option in front of me, at least, was very clear that I wanted to stay back in India and work. Yeah, there were more jobs. There were less jobs. There were more jobs available later, but I think most of our batchmates, they wanted to do further studies and they went abroad. We also had the Mandal Commission, if you remember, on campus. That was the time when things were really changing. So I think it was a transitionary time for most people. And we started off with jobs which didn't pay us much, but within, I think, about 5-7 years, things had rapidly changed for the better in India. Yeah.
Yeah, the outset, Gaurav's not here, but Gaurav and Mr. Sethi, congratulations on this book. I think that's one thing which lots of us have had on our Balti list of writing something, and somebody within 1 year of passing out of college, writing a book and getting it authored and having a public. And in this forum, I think it's more to be talking about books and literature, because the Bangalore Literature Festival, and we also have another Pilani person sitting here who's responsible for the Literature Festival of Bangalore and this venue that we're sitting here, Mr. Ravichandran. So Pilani has been, I would say, probably Sandhya, I'm very happy with being here, because for the first time in my life, I'm probably seated on a stage to add to the glamour quotient of the panel, because I'm not the author, I'm not the writer, I'm probably the subject or one of the products of the book. So great to be as a glamour quotient, and I'm decked up for a glamour quotient with this, because I think Pilani has done something to me personally, because otherwise I grew up just outside of this particular venue on the streets of this particular place here, when there was a bus 132, 131 from here to school, and 800 feet road wasn't what it is today. It was a peaceful, calm residential area. From here getting transplanted to the back of beyond deserts of Pilani was a cultural shock for us, because from South India, Hindi was alien, leave alone this one. Speaking Hindi was alien. I guess, Sandhya, you've been probably in North, and therefore for you, but otherwise for me, even speaking Hindi was alien. I remember, and we had people from across the country, Jammu and Kashmir. For the first time, I was seeing somebody from Jammu and Kashmir. Otherwise, Jammu and Kashmir was just a state being spoken about on the 9 o'clock Doordarshan news. Somebody from Northeast was there. In fact, as you know, the BITSI and ID was critical. So mine is 87A3 PS 544. 87A7 was somebody from Assam, Dhruva Jyoti. So this is a Naga dress. So it's a solidarity for the fact that it was a melting pot of India. Pilani, we had students from all over, a bunch of Illads and Gulds who couldn't speak Hindi at all, from the tier 2, 3, tier 4 cities and towns of India, landing up there. And that just gave us so much of an exposure, apart from the academics. Academics was there, but surprising that 30, 40 years ago, the Birlas had conceptualized this concept where attendance not required. Attendance in school, in classes, not, you do whatever you want. You're there, you fend for yourself. So we were, for those 4 or 5 years of our lives, we could do what we wanted. That in a way ingrained in us the freedom and the responsibility to take on what we wanted in life. And as regards the liberalization we talked about here, that was a time when probably we were living in a time where we didn't know what the future was going to be. Not that we were worried, but I guess your generation will probably be having the rat race of having to measure up to what your seniors, if you call it that, or what, but we didn't have that. There was no benchmark to be living up to. And so there was liberalization coming in Mandal. Look at the Mandal agitation taking place there. I don't know, again, you don't know that, but there was 90 was when there was this VP Singh government and decided about reservations coming in, and we were completely cocooned. Pilani was cut off from the world because it was a meritocracy. There wasn't this concept of quote unquote reservation, people could come in, but it was purely merit. So this concept of this wasn't there. We were cut off from that. And this, Sandhya said, writing entrance exams or taking up a job. So I personally wanted to extend my state of moratorium in life, so that we had in Pilani. So I wrote my CAT, and fortunately or unfortunately got into IIM Calcutta. So another 2 more years of moratorium, because even there attendance wasn't compulsory. So, and we just carried off another 2 years of that. But within the period there, we had this particular freedom of, I think that's what has really built each of us in our own ways. There are students who've continued with academics, people like you, this one who've taken up academics, politics, entrepreneurs, technology. So I think this is not the venue or the forum to be talking about SaaS product platform and enterprise SaaS platform. But that's for another day, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So TP sir shared about his college life and
just intervene. That's another cultural shock for us because we never had the sir ma'am culture. We used to call our seniors after the ragging period, they were all friends. But I guess the fact that we belong to a dinosauric era of yours, you probably just can't relate to calling it the first name, but please feel free.
All right. So as TP sir shared about his college life, and we read through his chapter that it was kind of a bittersweet period. He had some qualms about how the college was so far away from his hometown and he didn't get to go back as much. How was your college life? Did you have the similar qualms?
So taking off on what TP said, I actually, since I grew up in the north, I learned Tamil from all these people who came on the Tamil Nadu Express from the south. And the cultural shock was for me the other way around. Okay. And I want to share one very interesting incident. I'm from a very small town called Narora. I grew up there for 14 years on the banks of Ganges. It's an atomic power plant where Dad used to work. And once two of us after class was standing with one Venki and somebody else, seniors outside. And suddenly we see this gentleman with a Thiruman, we call this the traditional Tamilian person with a veshti, which is a dhoti, walking towards us. And within a second, I had a cigarette on my hand thrust from this guy, and the other guy thrust it on the other girl's hand. And we were standing with two cigarettes because it was the father walking towards them who had surprise landed in Delhi and coming here. And I'm standing here. I didn't know what hit me. So the cultural shock, it was a real cultural shock. And the two of them just walked away and I overheard because I knew a little bit of Tamil. And he said, "Ayo, inna madri pongal kattala, don't behave." What it means is these kind of girls and all don't deal with these people. And here, for me, I had never seen a cigarette in my life. And that was the cultural shock for me. And after that, I said, "Boss, you don't need to, get to believe it, be friendly with all these guys." But that also taught me what it means to be friends, because those guys are still very dear friends and they're extremely grateful for that moment because we took on the blame and not their father, right? So those were days where we had the freedom of choice, like TP mentioned. We didn't have to choose our courses. We could choose our professors. We never knew that in school, right? So the freedom of choice was something that I really cherished. Also cherished very much is the entire campus was somehow laid back. Till school, you had to get grades. You had to come first. And because of the coming first is why you landed in campus in the first place. But here, there was no such pressure. So that was fantastic for me to sit back, look at the desert sands, walk like a nomad. And according to me, no mad. They are not the mad people. We are all the mad people who keep accumulating stuff, right? So those nomads taught me how to lighten in life, sing. So I used to sing there. And with your permission, I want to just gunguna a little bit on that. See, in this winter months, we used to sit back on a charpai beautifully. And the Bhupender's song, I want to share with you. Jaadon ki नरम धूप और आंगन में लेट कर वादी में गूंजती हुई खामोशियां सुनी औंधे पड़े रहे कभी करवट लिए हुए दिल ढूंढता है फिर वही फुर्सत के रात दिन. Gulzar साहब का Nazm hai, and I think he's part of the BLF as well, and he comes here regularly. So
Beautiful.
Dedicated to BLF, but that is the spark. That is the youthfulness that I think each of us has carried within us. And if you read the book, which Gaurav and Durjai just passed out from campus, yeah, and dedicating each one of the royalty to student welfare. Where do you see such people today? Yeah, youngsters. So big round of applause to these two authors, and we look forward to carrying that spark.
Ma'am, it's completely, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. This idea of giving it away is simply because we have seen our seniors do it year after year. And we are what we are, or the book is because of the campus itself. So taking anything away from it just didn't feel right. And it's completely what has happened over the years. It's just history repeating itself. And such a beautiful song. We have seen you sing multiple times in Bitsa Chennai events and whatnot. So I just wanted to talk about Bitsa. Bitsa is BITS Alumni Association, and Sandhya ma'am was the first female chairperson from 2017 to 2020, if I'm not wrong. And she led the 54,000 strong BITSA organization. So I want to know from you, what motivated you to take up that additional responsibility apart from your work to be involved with BITSA and at such a high position?
See, the book, definitely, I have briefly mentioned how BITSA was formed, so I'll not go into that. It has a genesis going on to the troubled times in the US when the towers fell, right? So we were there, we wanted to be there for each other. And I happened to be in Saudi Arabia at that time. And we were blamed, rather, as a country that we caused the air crash, right? So I started the alumni network there to be there for each other. But going back to that spark of youth, in Olympics, every country brings a little spark. The Olympic flame, it runs in every country and then comes to the, let's say, Tokyo recently. That is the kind of flame that we are from this portal called Pilani. I call it the portal because entrepreneurship, the kind of enthusiasm that place gave, the Saraswati Mandir of the Birla, the way the whole place is an oasis in the middle of desert, I think has sparked it in each one of us. And that I would think is what has brought us all together. And for me, keeping that network alive, that spark going from person to person was very important. So we were part of BITSA, and then when the seniors said, why don't you take this on and make it a little more structured and grow it, that there was a foundation needed to be, it was very ad hoc. People used to do events and things like that. And but then now we have a structure. We have BITSA USA, we have BITSA India, we have so many chapters, and it's grown to about 84,000 BITSians over the years. So, and now 4 campuses as well, right? So it is not about the institute, it is about the 4 years of foundation. So I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Right. And so BITSA is actually one of the most popular talking points of, at least when I joined campus, that, this is the USP, that the alumni would always be there for you. And I think we have seen it time after time that if there are any, if there's any need, any crisis of sorts, somehow the 50,000 strong community just gets together, it gets behind it, and, literally magic happens. I just want to share a quick anecdote with you all. So one of our chowkis, who is the chowkidar in one of the bhavans, his wife had blood cancer, and he needed 30 lakhs for the chemo and all. He started, or some student helped him start a keto campaign, and he was able to raise 35 lakhs in 2 days. Literally money out of thin air. This is
the power of the network is
exactly
so strong. I know, TP, would you like to add something to that? How it has helped you maybe in the company or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's what has kept the magic going over the years, and even passing down generations, that there is this cord was it the umbilical cord or the oasis of this yearning for doing something, providing something back? I think the very genesis of the college itself was the fact that we've got to fend for ourselves. That sense of we being there for each other, at least in our times, we were just marooned there for 4.5 months. Okay, now looking back nostalgically, there is a sense of love and longing. But while we were there, we were cribbing. Oh shit, what is it? The mess food is bad. The weather is terrible. We just want to head back home after every semester. After that, now there's so much of love and longing, but while we were there, it was terrible. And the guys from Delhi or from Jaipur had the joy of heading back every month, but we from South India, we had to wait for this December to come about or April to come about. So there's a feeling of we are there for each other. We've got to fend for each other. Jo bhi hai, terrible summer, terrible winter, terrible food, teachers bad. So we are there for each other. Let's find solace in each other. Let's have these festivals. Let's go out to the canal. Let's go to the Nutans and be there for each other. And that's kept us going. And after coming out, we realized, okay, these are these juniors who are there on campus going through the same thing. Let's be there for them. And the anecdote you talked about, there are multiple such cases which have happened, and people are kind of there for each other. And this alumni network is kept us strong. And we just see that that's going to be the case. And what's beautiful about the practice school program in our time that we had, which is still carried on. Otherwise, cocooned there in there or hibernating there for 4 years. Each of us had a choice. You just want to chill out in life with the chemicals and or the academics, you fend for yourself. But the fact that this practice school 1 and practice school 2 is where you actually the college takes on the responsibility. So today there are colleges in today's times where the students are going to fend for themselves, but 40 years ago, where the college took on the responsibility of quote unquote placing these students in various companies was a great exposure for students, 20, 25-year-olds to be getting exposed to that. All this is just kind of added up to this aura of Pilani growing, and that's just kept it going, and I guess it would continue too.
We definitely hope so. So there was this one thing that struck a chord with me while writing the chapters and listening to the interviews. So all 25 of you, and of course the many others we couldn't write about, you were there for 4 or 5 years in different time periods, probably don't even know each other, but somehow there was this common string that connected these pearls. It was somehow the feeling of giving back. I mean, creating, so the idea of a business has been probably diluted so much, but at the end of the day, it is actually a noble thing, since you're creating jobs. Providing livelihood itself is a noble thing. But when you find niche businesses, like, so you are simply in the business of gifting happiness. Ma'am, when you started Beacon Energy, or even your side hustles like Neeraj, which is the Middle Eastern vegetarians group. So all of it had an element of giving back or win-win. How did that happen in an era or like where generally all people go for is just profits?
Yes, sustainability, right? So for me personally, growing up on the banks of Ganges meant a very close relationship with nature. And observing nature, observing insects, observing birds. In fact, on campus, I got the bird watching habit, which is 30 years remained with us. And we're doing a lot with the peacock restoration as well on campus. But the connect with nature, you know, a tree always gives a lot more apples than there are consumers. Somehow it felt right to take that on and do more than that is possible and make the most of every single day and every minute, because the only limited thing in life is time. And second thing is energy that could dip, okay, if you don't watch out. So it was important to have multiple hobbies, multiple engagements, the fraternity that TP was talking about, which is bits, not just bits. This kind of went on to other, ecosystems as well. And so for me, building ecosystems around a common thought, and the vegetarian vegan movement in the Middle East was also a pioneering effort, not because of one person, but just the idea sparked, and there were people who actually took it on themselves, and we became ambassadors. So for me, all that matters is money comes in as long as the purpose and the focus is right in a right direction, then it will grow. Same thing with renewable energy as well. Not everything has been successful, I would say, and success and failure can be defined in different ways for each of us, but it should not hamper the smile on your face and the enthusiasm in your spirit.
And definitely agree with you, ma'am. And not that you need the reaffirmation. It's just that your efforts and your journey has been inspirational, especially to me. I became a vegetarian in 2019 while reading that chapter. I became vegan last year. Just it gives a lot of perspective that someone is actually doing these things, and when they explain it rationally, that it's not a religious sentiment, or it's not about that. It's simply about sustainability and health, and of course your liking towards animals. So I was really moved by that. So personally, thank you so much.
Oops. I don't see myself turning vegetarian or vegan in the foreseeable future. I'm shocked that somebody 2 years out of campus has taken on such ignoble ventures. I need my fish to survive. So, and I think the ecosystem shall take care of that. So there need to be all kinds of creatures and humans on Earth. So shall it be. Kesara Sara. Okay, and all right.
All right. So thank you. I'll just quickly wrap it up, and we can then open the floor for audience questions. So just to summarize how the book ended, it took us more than 3 years to write this book, and time and again we asked ourselves why we chose to write about the 25 Bitsians featured in it, and not any other set of 25 successful business people. For starters, there isn't an absolute best business person scale, and even if there was one, who would be the judge? Definitely not two 23-year-olds. The common thread that connects these pearls is what they stand for. Apart from being immensely successful in their respective fields, it's their moral fiber that truly brings them and thousands of other Bitsians around the world together. Their fields of work may be diverse, but the sentiment of adding value to their lives by giving back to the society is distinctly evident in all of them. Abhishek Humbert has done it via his firm Godera, which helps other companies manage their CSR. Mr. Pradeep Kashyap through Project Shakti, which has helped empower 60,000 female entrepreneurs. And of course, Sandhya Prakash through Beacon, her energy management and solar solutions firm. So we hope that the stories of the trailblazers who rose from this institution fuel your passion to strive for success. If you're a high school student, we hope this book excites you about college life and beyond. If you're in college, we hope it helps you realize the gravity of these pivotal years. And if you're a graduate, we hope the tricks of the trade mentioned within these pages enriches your life and career. And thank you so much for attending the session.